What up, everybody? Happy Monday. This is the Grit and Grind Show brought to you by the In Off the Bench podcast. I am your host, Daniel Ball, and today we are joined by the United Grid League's owner and coach of the Daytona Venom, Paul Behar. But before Paul joins us, we got to talk sponsors. It's the holiday season. I know you're looking for those gifts for those special someones. And if you've heard anything about our podcast or listened to us last week, we plugged these sponsors and we talked about the specific gifts you can give. But please visit Chinook Cedary, 8 Flavors Mild to Wild. They'll take good care of you. Memphis City Designs, get your brands, gear, logos on anything from shoes to under rouge. You can pick up your In Off the Bench gear while supplies last. You got Relief Chiropractic. Go see my boy, Dr. Vic Robinson. He's got the magic hands. He's rejuvenating people, adding years to their life. I'm telling you, if you go see him, you won't be disappointed. And finally, Old Dominic Distillery. Experience 150 years of tradition in the heart of downtown Memphis, from bourbon to vodka, whiskey to gin. Old Dominic's got you covered. Go online, pick up your bottles. It is the holiday party season, and you want to be the life of the party, so make sure you go get a couple bottles, take them with you. That way you can experience what it's like to have an Old Dominic party. And with that being said, the bills have been paid, the business is attended to, so let's bring on the show with the biggest interview in podcasting this week, our man, Daytona Venom owner, coach, and man of all things for the Venom, Mr. Paul Behar. Paul, how we doing, man?
What's up, man? I'm great. How are you?
I am blessed as always. It's nice to kind of say that, because the holiday season, you got to get gifts for everybody, and sometimes you may not feel as blessed, or at least your pocketbook doesn't. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, man. It's good to have you on. It's good to talk grid. We got last season to unpack, and I say last season, which I mean it still seems like this season, because it was just a few weeks ago that it ended, but I know if you're an owner and a coach, you've got to put that in the past, and you got to start focusing on what the expectations, what the plan is for the upcoming season. So we'll talk all that, but man, I want to get into you, man. Talk a little bit about your bringings, and talk about where you're from. What's home for you? Where are you from?
Yeah, so it's funny you say about the holiday season, everything. I was just decorating like all the Christmas decorations and everything. I even actually like mistimed that we had this podcast, so I didn't get to put my Venom shirt on, But I do have this dope strawberry jams with my Glock don't.
Dude, that is where do you find a shirt like that? That's a sweet shirt.
Ross, baby.
Ross. Dress for less. Go to Ross. That's a cheap plug for Ross.
Yeah, right. But
nice.
Anyhow, answering the actual questions, yeah. So I'm from Miami, from South Florida. Born and raised Florida boy. So yeah, it's been a good time all over like Pembroke Pines area. If you're from South Florida, you'll know that a little bit more. And it's cool, dude. It's a nice little area out here. The weather has been so nice lately.
Yeah, I spent, when I first moved to Florida, I lived in Davie and then moved out to Plantation. So I'm well versed in the South Florida area, Pembroke Pines. I know what you're talking about. I had my first job at MacArthur High School right there, not too far from Pembroke Pines in Hollywood. So
oh snap, that's funny. I want to start like a high school weightlifting team, and so I was thinking about MacArthur does have a weightlifting program. So I talked to them a little bit too. Were you coaching still when oh man, what's her name? Oh shoot, I'm gonna totally forget that one now. We'll just sidetrack that.
It's all
delete
good.
It off in the post production.
Nah, we'll keep it, because it kind of brings the story full circle, because you talk about building a weightlifting program. I actually was a weightlifting teacher there for a few years. So when I started, I did, beginner weightlifting and powerlifting with the football team, and it's a great schedule. I wouldn't change that for anything, but life happens and you got to move. But if you wanted to put some roots down anywhere, they got a bunch of good athletes over there. So not a bad spot to think about, setting up shop.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. It's they got a bunch of good athletes there, that's for sure. I got a few students that go there actually too.
Sweet. So for you, you've spent a lot of time down in South Florida. You got brothers, sisters, mom, dad. What's your family like?
Yeah,
How big?
dude. I'm the middle child.
Ooh,
Yeah, man. I got an older brother and sister and a younger brother and sister. And so they all grew up down here too. My older brother lives in Texas now. And then my older sister lives up in Melbourne. Everybody's all like gone from home, and I'm the only one that's down here still. So I like to say that, I'm the only one that still cares about the family. Um, but yeah, so then my younger brother's going to acting school in New York, and my sister is living also in Texas now. She's a teacher. So they all, I don't know, man. They all like went and did like professional, real, responsible people jobs, and I'm over here just like, yeah, let's open a gym, let's own a grid league team, having fun.
hey man, it's life is short. It's too short not to be passionate about what you do and love what you do and have fun while you're doing it, man. Those real life jobs, they're not as fun. I can talk to you all day about that off air, but let's get into how do you get it? Or did you play sports growing up? Was weightlifting or fitness a part of your routine as a kid, or was that something that you found just as generically getting into CrossFit, and CrossFit turns into grid, and grid turns into where you're at now? How do you find just fitness in general?
Yeah, so I was actually a professional musician. That was what I grew up doing. So it was pretty cool. I play like 9 instruments, and all throughout, I started in somewhere like middle school or early high school. Um, Went to college for like music engineering and did all the stuff to like set up sounds, for the shows and all the music that you'll hear, all the wiring and connections. And then I was on tour for off and on, months on and off for a few years, like 3 years, and that was pretty much the whole life. And then, crazy enough, I came back and I went to college for accounting, just looking for like a college degree that would make me a lot of money. So I was like, just
What
pick the one that.
what an opposite end of the spectrum. Like I would have never, like, if you said, yeah, I went to college, I would have never guessed it was accounting. It would have been something totally different than that.
Crazy, right? So yeah, I just picked the one that had the highest like out of school salary because I figured I had to be an adult at some point, and music wasn't really like making tons of money or anything. And so then graduating college, I had never worked out. Music was like, it's like you're really like active all the time, like moving all that gear around and standing up and playing shows and everything, traveling, being too broke to afford food. Those things tend to keep you pretty skinny.
Yeah.
Um, but so after graduating from accounting school, I was actually like pretty overweight. I probably weighed like over 200 pounds, like never hit the gym, none of that. And some buddies of mine like started taking me to a regular Globo gym. Some other buddies of mine invited me to CrossFit. And yeah, like you said, like kind of very normal story of someone who was like, oh, that kipping thing is going to hurt your shoulder. And like, oh, those snatches look dangerous. And, eventually like drank the CrossFit Kool-Aid. It was super dope. And then that was how I got introduced to coaching as well. Started coaching a kids program so that I could get my gym membership for free.
That's
And
that's what we typically do. We want to
yeah,
get that
man,
gym that because it's hefty. Now, if you can get it paid for by coaching a couple classes a week, that's the life right there.
it was awesome. And so the gym that I worked at, they were, and this is back in the second year of the rebirth of grid. So, probably anyone that's watched the show, or maybe if this is your first time, there was the NPGL that was big, Madison Square Garden, Matt Fraser, Noah Olson, all those people. And then, died out, restarted as the Florida Grid League a few, 4 years later or so. So they were hosting an event at the gym that I was working at. And so I seen it and I was like, this is dope. Like, and actually, I basically started a kids grid league. So I went and I talked to Mather, who is the commissioner of the grid league. And I had this kids program that actually like, it blew up. I had like 50 kids in the program in like 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Nice.
was maybe 3 months or so. It was crazy. So I talked to Mather and I was like, "Hey Mather, like can I like do a kids, version of this thing?" And like, it's here. They had the flooring all laid out at the gym that we were working at and everything. And so Mather was down with it. He was like, "Sure, let's do this." And so then I started like a kids grid league. We did that for about 4 years. And at the same time, I became like the equipment manager for the league. So I kind of like started doing both of those things. And that was how I got involved in grid.
I mean, we talk about the evolution, but I gotta stop and kind of you know pump up Mather and Ruby and what they've been able to accomplish because everybody I talk to and myself included, every conversation about trying something and trying to promote grid, they're all about. They're very supportive. They're very like, yeah, whatever you can do to help us out, we want to do that. And while you're doing it, let us know. Let's stay in contact on how we can help you. So it's like building this network, and it's such a easy communication piece, and talking to them, and they're very supportive with everything you do. And this is just another story of them being very humble and very supportive in the endeavors of others just to promote the sport. But we you mentioned the MPGL, so let's start there. MPGL, big time undertaking. Did you know about it when it was happening, or did you, once you got into grid, then you went back and was like, oh, so this is where it came from?
Yeah, that second piece. So when the MPGL was going on, I was still in school for accounting. So it's
Gotcha.
kind of cool. Like I jumped into this thing that has so much history and even CrossFit. I started doing CrossFit in 2018. So CrossFit's already going for what is that, 12 years or so. Grid happened in 2016, I think, 2015. I always get the dates wrong. So yeah, so it was like very similar to a lot of people. I was experiencing CrossFit for like the first time, and then right back to back started experiencing grid as well. And yeah, it was just, I was like, man, like this is CrossFit, but even cooler because people don't have to, like, I hate assault bike, and I hate doing running and stuff. And I was like, dude, it's just weightlifting and gymnastics, like stuff that you actually want to do,
Yeah.
and not the whole suffering and getting well rounded part, which is good to
Yeah.
be healthy and all, but I didn't like
I
it.
mean, nothing's worse than showing up and you look at the whiteboard and you see a workout and you're like, "God, this is just going to be miserable. Like I wouldn't have wanted to do any of those." And then you wonder why CrossFit, coaches and people who program CrossFit, they don't release the next day's workouts the night before. A lot of people hold tight because they know like attendance is going to drop if there's anything, if thrusters or burpees or something that they don't like in there is programmed. So I get you. That's sort of why, I've, outside of having kids and my schedule being what it is, that's one of the reasons why I work out in my garage is now I don't have to do what someone tells me to do. I can program what I want to program, and I feel good and I'm happy and I don't feel miserable. And not to say that every workout makes you feel miserable, but if there's a ton of things that I don't like, it's not going to be a good day for me. But you look back on the evolution of grid from MPGL. It's this grandiose, large scale thing that they tried to put money into, and it just kind of fizzled out. You come in, and they've kind of taken it from this big thing with teams nationally to this more regional thing where it's just Florida teams. Eventually, now it's to where you see teams, in Atlanta, and then now, with the expansion of a team in Houston. So, my question to you is, looking at the growth and evolution, what are you most excited about for this next coming of grid?
So, so I have some pretty cool announcements about the Venom
All right.
that are going to be released in another probably like 2 months, I would say. So it's fun because as I'm getting to appear on some of these podcasts, I'm getting to kind of throw out some of those teasers there. So part of the expansion, that Grid is going through, we're going to go through something that's pretty cool too. So you guys can be on the lookout for that. And for the rest of the league, I think it's such a cool thing to unpack because going back to how we started, how Mather and Ruby operate and work with all of us different, like what our passions are and what our visions are individually, like what each owners, Matt Hornaday, the Dan Jackson, like all the Wild, and how they were the first kind of to relocate, and like versus that grandiose NPGL thing that was like, okay, they had this big idea, they did this in one way that wasn't necessarily taking into account so many people's perspectives,
Right.
So I probably have like no clue the direction of Grid, right? Because every person that has a new perspective, the Houston's team owner and whoever comes into it next, they're going to have their own pathway. And then Mather and Ruby are going to support it. And it could go in so many different directions based on the people that, we're working with. And that's like kind of what's really exciting about it, because it's not I guess to use CrossFit for an example too, it's like Greg Glassman had his mission statement, his direction, and everything was going to go that way, where Grid has just kind of like an unlimited potential where people are going to become passionate about it, whether it's podcasting, coaching teams, owning teams. I started a kids version of it, and you're going to see Grid just evolving in so many different directions that nobody had thought of until someone else discovered it and kind of had their take on it, and they're passionate about one of those aspects that, blow up.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, you see it, this resurgence, is what I look at it as, because you went from a very regional, or well, very national thing, down to new ownership to a regional level. And now you're starting to expand outside of that region with a team in Atlanta. And then this next season, you're expanding even further to a team in Houston. That gives you 9 teams. And the United Grid League, as it stands, I think it's probably got to add one more team. And if this team is somewhere else in a different state, like that's just another like footprint outside of the region where you can go, holy shit, like this is like we're moving things in the right direction. So when you look at it from that standpoint, yeah, every owner has the ability to run their program and their team the way that they see fit. And there's a lot of allowance of that by the commissioner to do those things, which is great. And you want to hear that as an owner and as a coach, but you also got to be jacked up for the fact that, we went from 8 teams. Now we're going to possibly 10 teams. And then what's the next year going to look like? So that kind of growth is you got to be excited about that. Right, Paul?
Yeah, it's so cool, man. I guess the other thing that's maybe allowing for some of this growth is athletes. I think a lot of athletes would see the clips of Grid, and so for example, they would see someone doing butterfly ring muscle ups, and they would be like, man, like I can't do that. That means that Grid is dangerous, because they have that kind of CrossFit mentality that's like, to be well-rounded, you should be doing a little bit of everything. And so I think it's kind of pushed away some athletes, especially like higher level ones that are like, oh, I'm training for semifinals. Like I'm not going to be doing butterfly ring muscle ups or back up rises and hurt myself, for my CrossFit season. But a lot of athletes are realizing that, oh, wait, I'm a barbell specialist. I would just do the barbell on the Grid team. And so that now doesn't actually bring risk to my CrossFit season, because it's something that I already, train a lot, have better proficiency in. And so we're getting other athletes from that higher level, like, division in CrossFit, which is really cool as well. And it's crazy. I mean, it's funny. I don't know if the location of the teams is making as much of an impact as it might feel. Because, for example, our team, I think we have 8 states. I think we have athletes from 8 different states on our team. I believe we are the most. I could be wrong, but I think we are the most like remote athlete based team in the league right now. And that's going to be something else that's going to keep happening as well. Is like as these, talent is growing, interest is growing, teams are getting spread out, but people could be from anywhere. Athletes could be from anywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of opening up a lot of avenues, not only in the local areas that these teams are being based in, but the broader recognition and interest from athletes that want to play. So having 10 teams, it's going to be like one of those snowballs. It's going to go from 10 to 12, 16, as more and more.
Yeah. And, you could see a decline in players that move closer to a team that's closer to them. But as these other teams pop up, it's going to be widening the viewership of the sport, and it's going to open it up to more people. So in that regard, you might see more people come to you, maybe higher caliber athletes coming to you going, I didn't know anything about this until now. Like, how do I get a part of this? So it kind of works twofold for you, but I think the growth and the expansion is moving in the right direction. And everybody's got to be excited about, just the overall, movement of the sport. Now, when it comes to the Daytona Venom, at what point was Daytona always part of the grid league, or once MPGL stopped, did Daytona then become part of the Florida grid league and now they're still here? How does what's the history of the Venom?
Yeah, so kind of going back to where I was at the time, I was, running the kids grid league, and I was managing the equipment, and I was being coached in weightlifting by a coach from Daytona. And so it was his idea to found a team in Daytona. And so we worked together with Mather and everything on that. And so the team was founded in Daytona just because that was where he was from. And we did that there. And then last season, he left the organization. So the team was kind of just based in Daytona out of we kind of took the spot from the Miami Freaks. So that was an existing team that they, pulled their team ownership, or their owner didn't want to own the team anymore. So we filled that slot and just rebranded in Daytona for that reason. And yeah, so no particular attachments there kind of thing at this point. And yeah, it was really interesting because, funny enough, like how I was talking a little bit about people not understanding or not, and I was running the kids league. I was running the equipment, managing all that stuff. There, obviously, knowing a lot of people from teams. And even then, I still didn't understand like how to field the team properly. So when we fielded our first team, we fielded like 2 college gymnasts, like 4 national level Olympic weightlifters that could clean, upwards of 450 pounds, like clean and jerk 450 pounds and stuff, which is, the heaviest clean and jerk on the grid is like 315, I think. So we're thinking in our heads, oh, this is like, we have these college gymnasts that can do multiple backflip, triple tuck, whatever. Triple touches are easy, all this stuff. We have these weightlifters that are so good and so strong. And we came into that first season and just got destroyed because like the weightlifters didn't have, let's say, like the best squatting mobility. So when they're doing the reps, like they're not getting their squats counted because their, squat mobility is not good. Or, weightlifting as a practice, they don't like lock their knees and hips out so aggressively as like CrossFitters are trained to, cycle those reps.
Right.
So we ran into so many issues on, just literally not knowing that, like, oh, wait, you're like, oh, everybody's kind of supposed to be able to do CrossFit too.
Yeah. I mean, there is as much of there's a lot of differences between the two sports. There is a lot of crossover and similarity in like the movement patterns, and just the foundation and building of certain CrossFit skills allows you to do certain elements in grid, and vice versa. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine that if you are a decent CrossFitter, you can transfer those skills to grid pretty quickly. But on the flip side, if you're a heavy, if you're a very good Olympic lifter, that doesn't necessarily mean you can automatically transfer those skills over to grid, but maybe you can. I mean, it just depends on the athletic prowess and what you bring to the table. But to me, like looking at it on the surface, like that seems like the right approach. I want to get the best of the best at certain specialty things and just dominate in those areas. And you saw quickly, obviously, that wasn't the right route. So then what do you do?
Yeah. And it's funny you say that too, that CrossFitters might be able to come in and do it, let's say more easily. But I would even say no to that because funny enough, CrossFitters are very used to training in that zone 2 and zone 3.
Yeah.
And working with, mid and higher level CrossFitters, a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, I'm cycling fast. It's like, no, dude, like you're doing whatever, 10 cleans in 20 seconds. Like grid speed is literally half of that. It's 10 cleans in 12 seconds. So even though some of those transfers and carryovers from either side, Olympic lifting, gymnastics, CrossFit, it's cool how grid is actually that special or unique in its execution that everybody, whether it's a weightlifter or a CrossFitter, has to make a pretty dramatic adjustment to their style. And like what you said is the athletic prowess, like either they can or they can't, which has been something so cool of learning how to field the teams a little bit better, learning how to strategize the athletes better and stuff like that has been probably the biggest learning experience over the last couple seasons of like how to organize things properly, test things properly, and identify those strengths and weaknesses within the athletes. And that part is just so much fun. That's like the most fun.
How do you balance it all? Obviously, you travel. Like we just talked, off air last week when we were scheduling this up. You're traveling a lot. You also have a gym. You are the coach and owner of the Venom. Like, how do you balance and juggle all these things? Is it just that's just how you need life to be in order to function, or is it like very methodical? Like I'm very schedule oriented. We have this time, and I got to be on point with all those things?
Well, probably from my the beginning of the show, not even wearing a Venom shirt. You probably guys already know the answer to that one. This season, our biggest goal, or I should say my biggest goal, is actually to treat the organization more like a corporation. So our goal is to bring on some department heads, so to speak, right? So I'm looking to bring on an assistant coach, a sponsorship manager, a social media manager, and within those three, roles, have something like a team captain that can go underneath the assistant coach, have a sponsorship recruiter underneath that manager, and turn everything into, just like a corporate style of, I guess, hierarchy, going back to that accounting school,
Yeah.
Business life. Yeah, it's interesting because I think that the last 3 seasons has been just crazy. It's super hectic. You're trying to, or at least I'm trying to, book flights and figure out travel accommodations and send out programming and review videos and then talk to a sponsor. And so one of those like jack of all trades, master of none, or doing too many things, spread too thin, all those sayings come to mind because
is it a lack of like having like the people, the right people to do those things? Or is it like you want to prove yourself and you go, I just want to do it all?
Oh shoot, heck no! If you're listening to this and you want to come do stuff, please take it off my plate. It's horrible. Same thing like running a gym, man. Anybody that's opened their own gym knows how it is to be the head janitor and the guy that's talking to the maintenance company or the talking about insurance and then doing the marketing and all that stuff. And it's just really tough to do all of those different jobs in a small business. And that I think is something that a lot of the team owners in Grid want to do is, take that step away from a small business owner. That a small business owner usually doesn't have the capital to hire those different things. So like you said, finding the right people that want to get involved with the organization while it's still a small thing, because, we're not paying, whatever these, big corporate salaries or anything. We're offering opportunities as far as, commission based and things like that for people that, that have the skills and, maybe don't have the right avenue to express them.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a great opportunity for anyone that's interested in I hear people talk all the time, like in all like CrossFit space and grid space, like, how do I get involved? Well, I mean, the easiest thing is just to volunteer and go. Like, I guarantee you, as crazy as this sounds, if you showed up at a match and said, "Hey, I want to help," I guarantee you would find yourself doing something.
Well,
Like,
not
it's
only
just,
that, but the legal pay you.
yeah,
We're
like,
that's something that's also blown my mind. And another, just like, I guess we got, I'm sure that everybody that's come on the show, I haven't watched all the interviews, but everybody has so much love for Mather and Ruby, because all the way down to the staff is, everybody is paid, which is completely the opposite from CrossFit, which nothing bad about that. Volunteering is cool and everything. But like you said, if you want to get involved, not only can we find something for you to do, but like, we'll also pay you to do it
yeah,
and help out sometimes with like travel accommodations and stuff like that as well. Like, so if there was really any like the easiest thing to get into, it would be grid, like team owners, we're all helping athletes, whether we can help to do programming for them, help to fix, techniques and stuff, put them on the teams, everything staffing wise, you can get involved with the staff and do whatever you want, whether it's helping with the equipment, helping with the refereeing, all that kind of stuff.
it's great to know like you're in a spot where the league allows you to be an owner, they allow you to be a player, they allow you to be a coach, they allow you to do all three of those things if you are good enough or choose to be, if you want to. Like, no other league has, like, give me a professional organization that would allow you to, or you have the opportunity to do those three things. And to me, that's what's so amazing about grid, and that's what's so amazing about the people that I talk to and interview, is that they hold a bunch of different roles, and as hard as it can be, it's so beneficial for the organization and for the league as a whole. And you don't, like, the first thing they say is like, what other place could you do all of those things in? And so I say all that to tell you, Paul, man, I tip my hat to you, because you're an owner and a coach of a professional organization. And while a lot of people are like, man, that's really cool, those titles are great. Yeah. But the work that goes into it, like, you're killing it, dude. Like, being able to balance just those two, and those aren't the only two things that you do. You're able to balance it all. And as you know, the t-shirt on your body don't tell the story, man. It really doesn't. So I'm not judging you one way or the other. I just know like how difficult of a job it is to do on your own. And I know you got help, but looking back at this past season, the 2024 season, let's kind of open it up a little bit. You tell me, were the expectations met? I mean, I don't know what the expectations were and what the situation was for the team, and the hurricane throwing the wrench and everything, and like the end of the season being what it was. But you tell me, like, what were the expectations at the beginning, and when you ended, were you okay with where you finished?
Man, so this is the part that's gonna get like, clipped, and people are gonna like scroll forward to get to this part kind of thing, because this is the thing that I think everybody's wanted to hear for a little while.
This is the juice.
It's the juice, right? So quick step back to the beginning. We take over kind of like the Miami Freaks leave that hole. The Venom begins. The Venom sign, right? 4 players that were from the Miami Freaks. The Miami Freaks had just come out from a championship win. So they're pretty like, we're the shit. We're awesome at what we do and everything. And also kind of going backwards, we didn't have as much of that understanding of how to program and sign the right players and all of that stuff as well, right? So at the time, we're asking these players, right? And we'll just put them out for who they are. It's like going to be Jojo Gomez. It's going to be Alex Alvarez. They're the main ones that we're kind of like relying on for some of that help with strategizing and coaching and stuff like that. And so we ask them for their help. And we have, our first season. Our second season, it's like we understand a lot more things. So, their involvement in the coaching side goes down significantly. But then we get to this third season, right? It's like by the third season, I know what I'm doing. I know how to strategize. I know how to sign. I know who I'm signing. I know who I'm putting where. And it's just those roles were not able to be removed, so to speak. So there was the aspects of myself as a coach and owner asking them to submit videos or asking them to, do certain things with other players, show up to practice at certain dates that they weren't showing up to. And we had a few rookies on the team. So it's like these rookies that had never really experienced that stimulus of like, no, this is 10x whatever your speed is. And this is, you have to lock out the knees and hips this style instead. And so not only were they trying to get involved in things that were not like needed anymore, but they weren't doing the things that they needed to do to help the other people in the team, learn what they had to do as well. It's like you got to work together as a team and teach each other. So we go into our first 2 matches with the absolute just worst playing that we've ever had, just got dominated. And probably I think we won 2 races out of 24 or 22, I think was the score that point.
That's the downside of it's great to have a small league, but the downside is 2 matches, like that severely handicaps you moving forward. Like
yep.
your work has to be almost perfect moving forward to even think about a postseason. So you have those 2 setbacks, man. And so what's the thought process moving into the rest of the season?
So post second match, right? And in that second match, pretty much what had happened was some of the strategies that were, outlined, those athletes decided to go against those strategies without letting us know and start changing things on the fly, and caused us to like lose more, even worse than we probably would have lost, caused us to lose things that we would have won as well. Like some of the other things we might have won, but the way that they had executed or changed the execution caused us to lose. And we had really bad morale. So we had this big post-match team meeting where, I'm not an angry person really, so if my thought of yelling or screaming is probably not, I was probably talking like this. I was screaming at them. I was probably just like, yeah, you guys. So yeah, whatever. Called for them to take accountability. Like, hey guys, look, this is your fault. You guys are disrespecting the team, disrespecting the ownership, and not holding up your end of the commitment. And the big funny thing about it, the drama was that, both of those athletes wanted to say that they quit, which is fine. It's like, it was one of those, you can't fire me, I quit. Like we had a team vote and we voted to remove them from the team, right?
Right.
The fact that you want to say that you quit, like, it doesn't matter. Nobody wanted you here. You didn't want to be here either. So the whole drama that those athletes kind of started of just posting crap talking about us and all that kind of stuff was just unnecessary. Made them look real dumb. And we'll see. It's dude, like, so then we had 4 other players, right, that all kind of like jump shipped with them, right? So we had these 4 other players that also basically quit the team, right? Because one of them was one's girlfriend, another one of them was friends with him. And I'm not sure if they thought that it was gonna like ruin us, or, I don't know what the malice behind it was, because they're all, posting crap talking on Instagram and, saying all this negative stuff. Like, so I think they really tried to make it so we would just not be able to complete the season, right? And so all of this happens in like a 4-day period. All this stuff, boom, 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 boom. Players quit the team. They're talking to me on the phone, then quitting the team by texting Mather, hey, I quit the team, and telling me completely different things, like just nuts. That would be like Alyssa Martinez. So any team, like, and I'm finally kind of throwing this stuff out there because now we're in the postseason, where what we also know is that these players are trying to get signed to another team at this point. So it's going to be fun seeing where they end up.
Where they go, yeah.
Exactly, right, which I'm super excited to see how it all plays out. And
the good thing is you recognize the cancer and you eradicate it, and now you may have to take a couple steps back, but you said it yourself. You got rookies that now you can get in the fold and get some experience, and this season might have been like the learning, the learning and proving grounds for them moving forward. And it might allow you to be better, moving forward by taking those steps back.
Well, so that's the craziest part about it, right? So this whole thing goes down. It's, pretty stressful, to say the least. And so now we're left without a team pretty much, right? So we have like 3 girls and 2 guys or something like this at that point. And so, yeah, whether it was their intention to try to just like cut the legs from under us or whatever had happened, that's where we were. We're sending out, DMs and talking to people about playing and everything. And that's where we signed Alex Smith. So Alex Smith is like, hey, like, I'm super interested, which actually shout out to Sammy and Fico from the Sharks, because Sammy was actually the one that had sent him a message and, hey, a team is looking for players and stuff like that. And so she was the one that actually kind of put us in contact with him.
Nice.
And if anyone doesn't know who he is, he had been to the games, I think 3 times, on teams, I think 2 or 3 times. He had played in the NPGL. He was basically the person that invented butterfly ring muscle ups in the sport. So for anyone that doesn't know, he's probably the best in the league, and historically at what he does, which is gymnastics specialty. Alongside with him, we sign a strength specialist that's like never known about grid, but again, probably top 5 strength specialists in the league right now. So we signed just like an absolute powerhouse of athletes that are just have the entirely opposite attitude, just completely humble, completely ready to just learn about things, interact with the other athletes, show up to practices. I mean, these dudes are from Virginia. They flew down to Orlando to have a practice like probably 2 or 3 weeks out from, this match. So it all happens like so fast and so smooth that, like you said, it's like taking that step to just get all of the ego out, get all of the cancer out, get all the toxic behaviors out. And it was just immediately rewarded by like the universe was just like, hey, here's like the 2 best possible athletes that you
go.
And we're gonna. And it's funny enough, like they were exact matches for the people, So the dude Alex Alvarez was a bodyweight specialist. That, Alex Smith is 20 times better than him, and the other guy, Jojo Gomez, he's a stud as far as what he does. Both of them are great athletes, But even the guy that we signed, Nick Andre, way better than JoJo as well. And then attitudes on a team. It's like team sports is so different than you could be individually an incredible athlete, but it might really not work on a team, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy that, you signed those two, you move, in your opinion and in my opinion as well, like you move the team into a better position and direction. But those players were helped facilitate to the Venom by another team, which is unbelievable to me. Like,
Insane.
don't and I if you look at Fico Gomez, like there was some heat on him for signing all these different players from other teams, but like when you do things like that, like to me, that's instant credibility for who you are as a person. Like I'm blown away that the athletes of those caliber, he was just like, this is better. May not help me, but this could help someone else. So I'm willing to help someone else. So,
It,
and shout
it,
out to him. That's unbelievable.
it was, and it wasn't just them. So, we made a post that we were searching for athletes and everything.
Mhm.
And every team in the league, reshared that post, sent their maybe athletes on their teams were sending it to other people. I mean, it was just like an incredible demonstration of like we're all here, 8 different team owners, 8 teams, that it's like when we're on the grid, we're mortal enemies. But when we're off the grid, we're trying to create something that is really incredible. And we're
Yeah.
all here on the same team. It's Team Grid League, not just Team Venom and Team Wild. Um, and so when it comes to any situation, you know, like the hurricane, right? It becomes Team Grid League again, and we all unite, which is, I guess, the whole reason why they call it the United Grid League, on fixing and figuring out whatever problems that need to be sorted to be able to put this sport in the right position to succeed at whatever level that is.
Right. And you mentioned it. Obviously, the regular season was supposed to culminate in Vegas. The hurricane just really messed that all up. But the league united, as you said, and did a great job coming together and figuring out a solution and making, those Vegas matches matter and mean something. Obviously, you get back home from Vegas after an amazing time. You get back home to Vegas, and there's two more regular season matches that coincide with the playoffs. And those two regular season matches, because what they were able to do in Vegas, those two regular season matches that may not have meant anything after Vegas, they meant something um, in regard to seeding and the playoff picture. But you look at the playoffs and the season, the Wild end up winning. I don't want to get too much in on the playoffs and the Wild, but was that expected? Did you look at the playoffs and go, I can see the Wild winning? I mean, obviously the Sharks were the number one seed and had played well the entire year. Um, but when the Wild won as dominant, in my opinion, as they did, was that a shock to you?
Um, so it wasn't a shock. And something that is also very uh, impactful on this team's performances are going to be the format of the matches. So, for anybody that kind of doesn't really know how the sport works, you have these different races, and each race has these certain rules. And then the thing that changes is the movement. So, some matches can be very strength dominant and have these elements that just favor. It's like any short person that sees a rowing and wall ball workout and they're like, damn, this is gonna suck. And then you got the tall person right next to them. It's like, I'm gonna like win every.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's maybe that extreme of a difference maker, but it does play a really big impact. Um, which is another thing that, like, as the sport evolves, something I've always wanted to see was like more grandiose elements, right? So instead of like a wall ball that's this size, a wall ball that's like this size, and just things that visually look cooler
Yeah.
and also don't necessarily have an impact on the programming, right? So like we're not subbing out rowing for 500-pound deadlifts. Like, no, we're just doing a rower on like a massive spinner thing. And, stuff like the flip sled, the flip
Yeah.
sled is so cool to watch, right? And so I really hope that we see more elements that are just like cool to watch on the screen, because a lot of people are not able to make it out to the matches and see what's going on. They'll see a performance like that with the Wild, and it's kind of like, well, how would you know that the Wild was going to go into that and kind of dominate so much? Because from one side, I sort of expected that they were going to, they were both really good teams, but on paper, the programming was really heavy, right?
Right.
And so the Wild just had a stronger base of strength athletes. So in that specific situation, if you would have flipped the format and it would have been the playoff instead of the championship, right? And you would have flipped those matches, you could have had a completely different, outcome, which is like any sport is like that. You know what I mean? It's so cool to think about, which elements could have changed things up and which ones would have created different situations. None of that takes away from, your performance is your performance. Like you got to execute everything flawlessly. Just because you have maybe a bias doesn't mean that you're going to win.
Well, it's like what you're about to experience in college football with the playoffs. You get finally like meaningful games where a team is going to host a home playoff game. Like that's kind of what I equate to it. Yeah, like playing at somebody's house in the playoffs and college football is a massive disadvantage. But that doesn't mean it's not equitable. Like you still go out there, you still play the game, and you can win. You just got to execute. But there's one challenge that you're going to have to overcome, and that's the fans that are in the atmosphere. And so I get it. Like you look at any workout, and yeah, you put two college football teams and you switch the home location. And like if I'm the away team in one game, if I played at home, the result could be different. It may not be. And same thing in grid. If you change the format of the race or the match, it could, benefit you. It could not. It just goes back to what I think makes grid unique and great is that it's an opportunity where a lot of people with various levels of specialties and expertise can be on point. When let's talk next season. Obviously, you talked about cleaning house and making sure like you're getting culture and getting this more professional organization structure going. For you, like what's next on the agenda? Is it re-signing players? Have you already taken care of that? Is it looking at the combine? Is it trying to wait and see what players are available? Like what's next on the list of things to do?
So the re-signing period has just begun, right? So teams, you're going to start seeing some of those re-signs all popping up because all of us teams are all in that period now. And that period will go until the first or the second week of January. I don't remember quite exactly which one it is. So anybody that's tracking different teams and stuff, you guys will see those kind of re-signed players probably start being announced the next month. And that's probably not something that I'm going to be focusing on like as a big priority because we know who's coming back. So we kind of have that stuff sorted out, which is cool. You guys will start seeing some of those names and stuff from us coming out. And then kind of that thing that's actually still a secret is the next big thing. So we got something that's pretty cool, like under wraps still. We're still working on the logistics of it.
Is this like a Santa's gonna bring this secret gift, or like is this like after the new year? Like when can we expect the delivery of this?
The delivery will be I want to say February.
Okay.
I want to say February is when everything is going to be all sorted out.
Nice.
It's going to be pretty epic. Another thing that I can say right now that we're working on as well is getting some more amateur grid league involved. So Grid 6 is like the amateur level league. So we're looking to create some more stuff in that space, just as a team actually. So this has nothing to do really with the grid league itself, but as a team, we're going to try to start doing some promotions for the amateur level league. So if you're interested in getting, involved with grid, or maybe you want to be on a pro team and you don't know the first step, then joining into some of these amateur competitions will be a way to do that. And something else that's really cool is going to be we're going to have a scrimmage, a preseason scrimmage against the Palm Beach Breakers.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Nice.
Matt and I have worked out, most of the logistics on that one. And I think it might be the one. I'll go ahead and say it's the first official preseason scrimmage between two teams. I'm not sure. It could be wrong. So
Is it going to be, and you guys may not know this yet, is it going to be like traditional rules, or are you going to be able to kind of work on some different things? And is it same, amount of races, or is it going to be extended?
Yep. So we will follow most of the traditional rules and all the formatting and everything. It'll be cool if we might be able to have some of the actual professional referees coming out to do some refereeing for the match. So I would say the goal is to make everything as similar to a professional match. That's kind of our goal. Probably the one thing that we know that we don't have will be the floor. So we won't have the actual professional floor, but we'll recreate it with, tape or something like that as needed. But yeah, so that's going to be cool because I don't think any teams have really faced off with each other in the preseason so much. Also, right now with us and the Breakers, I believe we are 2-1. So we've played the Breakers 3 times. We lost twice and won 1 time. So it's cool because we're kind of
you owe them.
Owe them. Right. Oh yeah, man. And the last one was in Vegas. In Vegas, we lost by I think 1 race.
You hear that, Matt Hornaday? I want you to know this. Paul's gonna have the Venom ready, so you best not miss.
Matt's a stud, man. Matt's getting ready. I don't know. I think he was on here, but he was getting ready for a whole. He told me he just ran the other day 15 miles, or I don't remember, 12 miles or something, without thinking about it. He was like, "Yeah, I was running." And then I just kept running, and I figured I would just run all 14 miles or something like that. I was like, dude, that's a half marathon. What are you, crazy?
He's like on social media. You could follow him, man. He's running every day. I don't know if he's got a marathon or a half marathon or whatever, but he's out there grinding, man. He's pounding the pavement every day. So I mean, hey, got to do what you got to do,
right?
Obviously, you've got your off season in check. How many players are you looking to sign? I mean, obviously you have some players that are coming back. You're going to re-sign some players, but how many spots are you looking to fill?
Oh man, I'm going to do some math. I think it would be I think it's 3 guys and 4 girls. So I think it's 7. So we're still going to have a pretty new team this year. We'll have we'll have a solid core of 4 guys and 4 girls that are returning, and then re-sign a pretty interestingly, so for anyone that doesn't know, also your teams can be up to 9, right? You can have 9 per gender, but at least something that we've kind of experienced is having a really big roster can be hard to manage, and also a little bit hard for players to get involved, because with such a big roster, some players will only have 5 minutes of playing time per match.
Right.
So it's something that has to be communicated to players that hey, look, if you're signing up and everything, you're becoming involved for the team, you're training, you're giving this commitment, and setting that expectation of like you are literally going to play for 5 minutes, right? It's a very important 5 minutes. But it's something that's also very unique with grid. I think about it like weightlifting. So I have some like CrossFit athletes that are like, oh, like, well, like I want to play the whole time. And it's like for weightlifters, you train, year round for literally like 3 minutes of time on the platform, right?
Yeah.
Like everything that you're doing is based off these 6 total, lifts. Grid can be similar, that like you're playing on this team and like your role of literally just the ladder or just the, triad or whatever it might be. It's very similar to that. So,
could be your 8, back up rises, toes to bar, toe to rings. Like it could be like you're a body weight specialist and you're really damn good at that. And that's where we need you to kick ass is on those elements. And you may be out there for a minute, 30 seconds, but like you said, like that is an important piece to winning a certain race is having someone that can crush those elements.
Exactly. So, yeah, so we're playing with, both sides of it. Do we sign, extra players because we're really remote based anyways. So it's like increasing those travel costs and everything like that. We might try to keep our roster a little bit smaller or just find the right players. It's kind of up in the air. But something that will be cool is this season I'll move into the like head coach position officially. In the previous seasons, there was 2 co-head coaches or 2 coaches at the same level, whatever. And things got a little muddy with programming and stuff. So I'm really excited that this season I'll be stepping into just a full head coach role, and I'm searching for an assistant coach. So that's kind of the coolest thing that I'm really excited for is we're just going to become like way more professional. We're going to have clear roles, clear organization, clear people that are in those positions that we're working on getting those. That's going to be part of some of the stuff that we're going to make official once we do kind of announce some of this stuff. So whoever gets those into those positions and everything, that'll be part of that announcement. That's another kind of little piece of it that we can talk about.
Well, it sounds like everything, a lot of promise, a lot of good expectations to look forward to for the next season, a lot that you were able to build on to end this season. And I know next season you guys are chomping at the bit to get back out there and get going, especially in February. Matt Hornaday, just wait.
That's right.
Just wait. They're coming. All right, Paul, before you get out of here, man, I got a hypothetical. I like to kind of have something lighthearted to end every episode. So here's what I got for you. All right, so you find a book, man. You start reading this book, and it's the book of your life. You get 200-300 pages in, and you realize like every single aspect of this book is exactly how your life has been going. You get to current day where you're having a podcast with myself, and you go, man, should I just keep reading this book and find out how my life goes and how it ends? Or do you stop reading? Do you throw the book away? Do you put it on a bookshelf for a rainy day? Like, what do you do?
Shoot. What a fun question. I think shoot, dude. So I'm basically reading like, it's like the book of my future, right? So I get to either read my future or not. Man,
there's no changes.
So, what I would do? I would skip.
Nothing.
I would skip like 4 chapters, right? I'm gonna skip ahead 4 chapters, maybe 5, whatever. Depends on how big the book is. So am I halfway? I'm like halfway through the book, maybe, because I'm like about to be 30. So I'm like somewhere around like at least what would it be 2/3 or something. I don't know. Who knows about how old people live to be, anyways. But so I'll skip a few chapters, right? And then I'll read that chapter, and then I'll try to think about like, okay, how did he get here? So if it's like something really bad, I'll be like, all right, I'm selling the Venom, everybody. Like, I'll make decisions.
you're gonna do everything to alter the course if it's bad, and if it's good, you're just gonna stay on course with it.
Well, you never know, because it could be the chapter that I get to could also be like, one of the like that image of the dude that's like mining and he's like quits right before he gets to the diamond,
Yeah.
So like who knows what's gonna happen after that chapter as well, right? Like that could be the bad chapter before like the triumphant chapter. So I won't make any like course. I wouldn't call it course altering, right? I just want to like try to see that chapter and be like, okay, how do I get there? Like I'm not going to try to change anything about it. I'm just going to like see if I can get to that one. And then that way, like I'll know, like, okay, obviously then when I would go back and read the book and everything, I'll be like, yeah, I got that all wrong.
What if you got to present day, like, and there was only 2 pages left?
Oh shit.
That's wild to think about. But like, what would you do then? Would you just read it all, or would you go, nah, I'm gonna opt out?
I think I would opt out.
Me too. I think at that point I would just live life to the fullest, and whatever happens, however I go, I go.
Yeah. It's one of those, man, that like whole thought of, if you knew that you had 3 days to live, what would you do and stuff like that? Like, I would probably just not do anything at all. Like, I would live the same way that I'm living and just hope that I didn't have 3 days to live kind of thing. Like, they wrote someone like forgot to publish the other half of this book kind of thing. Like, they just like the printing fucked up or something, like,
yeah,
I'll just and I would max out my snatch. I would do that too.
Every day.
Yeah. If I didn't snatch 100 at least, and kilos that would be, then I would just like step in front of a bus. That way, like it's coming anyways. You know what? I can't like live my life anymore knowing that 100 snatch was like unachievable that day.
Gotta be done. Be done. All right, man. Paul, I appreciate your time, man. I look forward to the upcoming season. If there's anything we can do for you, please reach out. Before you bounce, anything you want to plug or promote?
No, we'll be back on soon, man. I would love to come back on and talk about our announcements. So once we make those announcements, hopefully we can see each other again here and talk about it.
Absolutely. February. I'll be waiting. Soon as the announcements, you're gonna get a message in your inbox from me. Hey, let's get this scheduled. But if you want to know more about the Daytona Beach Venom, Instagram at Daytona Beach Venom. They're signing strength players, utility players, male, female, you name it. Looking for different roles in the organization coming up. Got some big news coming up, and obviously a big 2025 for the Venom. So if you like hearing the Venom in Grid League, or if you like hearing Paul's story, or you just like hearing us average Joes talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook. Retweet us on X. Listen and subscribe wherever you stream your podcast. Go over to YouTube, hit subscribe, hit notifications, because when this bad boy drops, you'll be the first to know. And as always, tune in tonight. We're talking Mississippi State baseball with Rayleigh Chafin, Kylie Edwards. Tomorrow night, we got Texas A&M baseball with Jace Laviolette and Hayden Schott. On Wednesday, we're doing our Season 2 in off the bench college baseball survivor draft. We got our 4 tribes. We've got our player pool to draft from. I'm telling you, you want to stick around. You want to be on that, because the survivor and off the bench draft is hot, and the game itself is unbelievable. It's amazing. And then we're going to end the week with Ella Murphy with Oklahoma Gymnastics. This has been the Grit and Grind Show, brought to you by the Off the Bench podcast. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We are out.